This is actually our 6th conference, but 7th event. I am super excited. It's been an interesting journey in the last 5 years of doing it afraid. We've had over 72 speakers and about 4,500 people in attendance, with the last one having 2,000 people in attendance. God has been faithful. For those joining us for the first time, this conference is actually a wealth creation event that is focused on the psychology of an entrepreneur. We found that most people do not start businesses or follow their dreams because of fear. Different types of fear. Fear of what people will say, fear of the unknown, living security for the unknown, fear of lack, and fear of facing financial difficulties. And so, this conference, our major goal, is to give business-minded individuals the courage to start their businesses. You would say, why entrepreneurship? Well, entrepreneurship is the driver of every economy. So our second goal is to also contribute to the government's economic diversification. So now let's get to the interesting part. One of the fascinating things about this conference is that I always experience the theme. And this year, I think it's not just me, but Nigeria. I mean, if you look at my outfit, I probably look like a volcano, right? It was made by the amazing Osaru Alile of Cape. So there's an interesting story about this outfit. But let's talk about the theme, a volcanic description. I actually had a 3D vision about this theme. So one day, I don't even think I was deep in sleep. I saw like a mountain, and there was a candle in the middle of the mountain. And the candle started going up, and all of a sudden there was a massive explosion. And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, what did I just see? And I remember talking to my husband and I was like, I believe this is the theme for the next Do It Afraid conference. We've had interesting things. We've had a moth or a butterfly, which would you rather be? We've had the flourishing palm tree and its process. We've had the promise of a rainbow. We've had flowing with milk and honey. And last year was endless ocean. And so I said to my husband, I think the theme is meant to be called a volcanic disruption. And my husband said, nope, God doesn't disrupt, he transforms. And I'm like, okay, a volcanic, I still wanted to write my disruption. There was a volcanic disruption, cancel, and then put transformation. And when I started researching on the volcano, I realized that it is actually very transformational, if there's any word like that. So let me kind of explain how a volcano comes about. So in the Earth's core, the Earth's core is actually as hot as the sun. And because it's so hot, the rock, the earth, the rock actually melts. And it's called magma, so melted rock. Now, what happens is that magma finds its way through pressure when there's thinning of the Earth's crust plates. And it finds its way up through a tunnel. And that's when an eruption begins to happen. And then all of a sudden, there's like, it mixes with gases, and there's a massive explosion. And when that explosion happens, then you have the magma coming out of the volcano. But when it comes out, it's no more called magma, it's now called lava. And literally comes down and it destroys everything in its path. The largest eruption ever recorded was in 1815 in Indonesia, and it actually killed about 100,000 people, and directly and indirectly, because there are also some indirect effects of a volcano. But the amazing thing is that I found that a volcano actually transforms. Now let me tell you some of its transformative elements. One is atmospheric cooling. So when an eruption happens and there's ash that goes in the air, when it mixes with sulfur gas, what it does is it actually cools the temperature of the earth. So volcanoes are responsible for cooling, I think, the temperature of the earth to about 2 or 3 degrees. And the part that it cools is the atmosphere, the lower part of the atmosphere where we actually breathe, because it also blocks the rays from the ozone layer. So it actually prevents the sun from, burning us really. Also, there's land formation. I mean, it's fascinating. When lava actually solidifies. It actually creates new land. When it pours in water in the ocean, it creates new land. If you look at Hawaii, most of the Hawaiian islands are based on lava. So when you see an island in Hawaii, it's actually lava, and it forms beaches and you know. Another thing is that fertile land. So volcanic ash, the materials, when it mixes with soil, it becomes very, very fertile. And it actually creates fertile soil for agriculture. So it has actually fostered civilization. Then there's geothermal energy. I love this because, you know, I'm a spa person, and geothermal energy refers to like hot springs and geysers. And I remember going to Rwanda, and Rwanda has so many volcanoes. And you would go and you see some places, hot springs, where water just comes out of the earth, and you can actually just sit down there, put your feet up, or have like a massage. And you know, so places like also New Zealand and Iceland, they use a lot of geothermal energy. And then also raw materials, so gold, sulfur, copper actually are produced from eruptions. Also diamond, there's a particular unique kind of magma that actually brings out, I think it's called kimberlite, that actually brings out diamonds. So you can imagine how transformative a volcano is. I mean, for me, it just showed me the beauty of God, how amazing God is. That, you know, truly, you know, when you hear he brings beauty out of ashes, literally, and all things actually working out for your good. Now, how did I experience this personally? Those that know this story know that doing these conferences are do it afraid for me, because it's not my conference. God gives me the vision. He gives me literally everything, what to wear, who to invite as speakers, and literally about funding. I'm a finance expert, so I know a lot about funding, but God has never allowed me to do it the conventional way, to get financial sponsors, all of that. And it's caused a kind of a pain point, but we've come over it. And then another thing is that I always end up using some of the most expensive venues in Nigeria. I mean, the first one was Civic Center, Echo Hotel, not by choice, but by instructions. And so when it was time to fund this conference, I just assumed there were certain things I was working on that I was going to use to fund it. So many things I was expecting, but none of them came through. And just a few days towards the conference, I just said to God, I was like, okay, Lord, how do you want to fund this conference? Like, something I should have asked this. And he said crowdfunding. And he confirmed it through my cousin Astams, and he had confirmed it to my friend Esther Longe as well. And so I was like, okay, Lord, I don't like asking people for support, but no problem. And you know what? What he said to me was that he had said, look inwards. So there had been people that had been impacted from this conference for the last 5 years. And it was almost like they were, I had not leveraged on them. So almost like they were dormant because I hadn't leveraged on them. And he said, no, reach out to them. And, you know, I want them to also partake, because most people that understand this conference know that the themes are very, very specific to what he's doing in Nigeria per time. And within 2 to 3 days, we raised, I'm sure, we're still trying to calculate it because everything's happened so fast, over about 1.5 from people from giving from 2,000 naira to 100,000 naira to 10,000. I mean, people are amazing from different parts of the world. And I just want to use the opportunity to say thank you to everyone. And, you know, one of the things he taught me was that, you know, there are 3 types of material wealth. There's transactional wealth, when you exchange value. There's transformational wealth, and there's sovereign wealth that comes from God. He wanted to show me transformational wealth, which means that, you know, when you impact people, you can actually receive wealth from people that you impact. So as a wealth coach, that was very profound. Now let's talk about Nigeria's eruption. The last couple of weeks in Nigeria, not just the last, I mean, they have been very emotional, not just the last couple of weeks, but also the pandemic. We're currently in a global pandemic. And, you know, after the 60th anniversary, we kind of saw like an eruption. So our youth, our young population, our youth are actually our national treasure. Like Singapore, they don't have any natural resources. They only mentioned 3. One is arable land. I think the other is their people, and can't remember the third one. But for us, we have so many natural resources. But you know, our young population are natural treasure, national treasure. When I was in investment banking, when we do all these pitch documents of country reviews to investors, we're always talking about our population and the fact that they are young. I mean, this is why countries like Canada and Singapore are very bullish on immigration, because they have an aging population, so they need young people. But you see, our youth had been somewhat dormant, not by choice, because, I mean, we can see it's even very difficult to get our youth into government, but they had been dormant. And all of a sudden, with the protest, there was kind of an eruption, building up, and then there was a massive explosion on the 20th of October 2020. And through that explosion, there was massive destruction and killing. So in terms of the destructions, we can see what is going on. I mean, there was destructions everywhere. So literally, it was like a volcano. But the good thing, the amazing thing is that a volcano, it means that it's actually an opportunity for national transformation. Everything that has happened is an opportunity for national transformation. The protests and also the global pandemic kind of highlighted underlying issues in Nigeria. So we have been over-dependent on oil for so many years that has actually affected all other sectors. And you can see now the poverty rate is increasing, inflation rate, and all of that. But you see, like I said, it's time for national transformation. Now let's look at an example of a country like Canada. I'm sure everybody that can relate to Canada, because everybody wants to run to Canada. What is it that they're doing right? They actually apply this three-sector economic model, which focuses on the primary sector, which is extraction of raw materials, the secondary sector, which focuses on manufacturing and processing, and the tertiary sector, which focuses on services. Now, the economic model talks about how a country should actually move from primary to services. So if you look at a country like maybe Nigeria that has a low per capita income, you see that we are focused more on the primary. We're still dealing with more extraction of raw materials. But like a highly developed economy like Canada, they are in the other at the end of the spectrum, tertiary. They actually have about 3/4 of their workforce working in the services industry. But Canada is actually very, very unique compared to other developed nations. They actually also have a very lucrative primary sector in terms of raw materials. They have, I think, the third largest in terms of natural resources, the value about $33 trillion or something like that. So one of the largest energy reserves, oil reserves as well. You know, in terms of and humongous natural resources. In terms of manufacturing, automobiles, aviation, they're just doing a lot. You know, their economy is diversified. And then in terms of technology, so you can see that it's a diversified economy, and this is why they are thriving. So how does this relate to Nigeria? If you look at Nigeria, if you take Nigeria as like an institution, or an organization, its key resources are the staff. And so an organization should make sure it trains and educates its staff, and it also provides good health care. So one of the things that we need to focus on in Nigeria is education. We need to ensure that we have a highly skilled workforce. We need to upgrade our educational system. If you look at a country like Singapore, they only focus on 4 subjects: science, maths, English, and their mother tongue. And they have some of the best results in science and maths in Asia and the world. If you look at, so we can actually focus on making Nigeria the premier hub for education, an educational hub. I mean, I remember I have an aunt that is Botswanan, and she says that in the 70s, she actually came to Nigeria, to Ibadan. She's a doctor, and that's where she trained. We need to become the hub. We should also focus on healthcare. I mean, UK. So we can actually open up the sector. Most importantly, communications and technology. We need to be a smart nation. We need to focus on export-led digitization. We need to upgrade our digital infrastructure. There's so much that needs to be done. We need to be able to attract global tech tech companies like Israel. That's what they've done. All the major tech companies are there. We need technology land. We need infrastructure. We need to be able to export our skills right here in Lagos. You can be, exporting your skills in Silicon Valley. So we need to focus on communication and technology. So basically for this conference, as I'm rounding up, these are some of the things we'll be discussing. Now we have an amazing lineup of speakers from education to technology panelists. They're going to come and share their wealth of experience. So please get your notepads, get your pens. You need to take notes. If you need to record this, if you need to tell your friends about this, it is very, very important. We're looking at education, but we're not just looking at education from just an academic point of view. We're looking at other types of education. We're also looking at technology, and we have some tech experts here, tech investors as well. So get ready because you're going to experience your own volcanic transformation. Thank you so much. Make sure, again, you stay tuned. Tell your friends to come. This is for you. This is for everybody. Thank you so much. God bless you.